Welcome to LOA Today. Walt Thiessen and Alex King here. Today is Wednesday, March the 13th, 2019. It's 8 a.m. in New York, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles. It's 12 noon in London. Sydney, Australia, you're at 11 a.m. or 11 p.m., excuse me. But wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. We're a little unhappy today because Kelly is feeling a little under the weather and taking the show off. So that's the bad news. The good news, though, is that because it's Alex and I, we can just work on our new fictional podcast that we're putting together, The Grass is Greener. And we've been doing work. Yeah, we've been doing work since the Friday podcast that we did on the show with Tom Wells. Made a lot of progress on that day. And we've been doing work behind the scenes since then, developing the characters. I created some different character sheets, one for each character, so we could spell out what everything amounts to for that person. And Alex was going crazy, punching in details, making stuff up. It was great, the stuff that you came up with. In fact, I want to ask you about some of it, because some of it is stuff that is so completely outside of my experience. I'm not even sure what it either is or what it means. I mean, some of it I kind of recognize the names and so forth. But I'm going to need like a little education from you, millennial to baby boomer, about what the heck we're talking about here. Okay. So let's go first to our main character, Nancy. And I'm going to open up the document here so that I know what I'm talking about. Hello, Nasha. Hello, Marjan. We got people tuning in. Feel free, by the way, to put questions in. Actually, Nasha does have a question.
Oh, what's your question, Nasha?
This is actually part of an ongoing conversation that dates back to, I think it was November when we had this first conversation. Her dream is to move to Paris.
Right. Yes, she told me.
Right. Okay. And she's saying, I want to go. How do I go? So it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty much the same question it was before. How do you get there when it kind of ties into what Steve and I were talking about and Louie and I talked about this week. I mean, it's been an ongoing theme. What do you do when what you're trying to manifest hasn't shown up yet? How do you deal with that? What strategies can you use? And it's a serious question, and it can be a serious problem because it happens fairly often. I mean, probably the most important thing to remember, obviously, is that what comes into our life is what we vibrate to. In other words, how we feel, how confident we feel, how excited we are about stuff and so forth. And none of us are perfectly, in alignment at all times. Sometimes we fall out of alignment, right? I mean, that's life. Welcome to life, right? Life 101. So really, it's all about what do you do when you fall out of alignment? How do you get back in, especially when you're disappointed? Something I've been dealing with lately. I've had a number of things I've been disappointed about and trying to stay on top of that. Steve and I had a good conversation about it yesterday morning. And in that conversation, we kind of stumbled on something. Because I was just kind of like probing, asking probing questions and he was trying to answer. And we were playing kind of like coach and client kind of thing. And I was trying to really just zero in, like trying to get a sense of what do you do with this thing. And at one point he mentioned, well, what you got to do, and of course this is going to sound very familiar. What you got to do is you have to take an event that was positive from the past and relive it to get yourself into that good feeling place. And then you can kind of transfer that energy over to what you want to do. Okay, makes sense. But when he said that, I had kind of a light bulb moment. Because it occurred to me, we talk about that, but it can be difficult sometimes, often, to reproduce the level of feeling we had about the event compared to when we actually had it. So if you have something really exciting happen, you can remember that it was really exciting, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're actually feeling it.
Right.
And so I asked him, how do you, when that happens, how do you get it to the point where you can feel it to the same degree you felt it before? Because that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to get to that really, really good feeling. And I know for me, probably for a lot of people, I know that if I'm not getting there right away, I feel like I'm failing. Like, oh, geez, I'm not really getting there. You know how that feels? So, how do you handle that? And he made a really interesting point, and a very good one, which is you get better and better at achieving the old feeling from the previous event when you continue to focus, when you continue to just keep doing it. It's law of attraction. It's a momentum thing, right? The more that you focus, the more you get out of it. And I said, yeah, that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of that? But more importantly, doesn't that mean that we should be spending a lot of time just practicing? Forget about trying to manifest something. Just practicing feeling as good as we used to feel about the event. And do it for all the major events of our lives that were good feeling events.
Yeah.
Which also led me to, well, should we be making lists of these things? Because quite honestly, when I'm in that not so good feeling place, that out of alignment place, I can't even remember what the good feeling stuff was. I mean, you kind of need like a reference list. So,
yeah. So making a reference list is a good start.
It is. Yeah. I mean, what, before I go further down that, this is kind of a good track and a rabbit hole in the same breath. So before I go down this track toward the rabbit hole, what approach do you use? How do you go about doing it when you're out of alignment, you're just not feeling it, and you need to get into that good feeling place?
I don't know. It's kind of easy for me. Like, I just have certain memories that just stick out in my mind, and I can physically feel, like, the chills that I got when Mike first held my hand. Like, I can feel that feeling. Like, I don't know. It's not hard for me.
Well, fabulous. I mean, it's nice to know it's easy for somebody. That's good.
Yeah.
It makes me feel like, okay, well, I can actually get there.
Yeah, but not every memory is that easy. But, it's the ones that had, like, maybe the ones that had a physical effect on you are the easier ones to try to manifest.
Well, I think that's true, because when there's a physical effect of some kind, it's easier to remember what that was.
Yeah.
And you can kind of, even if you don't remember exactly how it felt, you can kind of imagine your way there, because if it's something that you've ever felt before in some way, you can kind of get there,
Right.
And actually, we're really good with the negative stuff on that. Like, I won't dwell on this because I don't really want to dwell on it, but I can remember the first time I let Louise drive my car, she got into an accident. Destroyed the car.
Yeah, I did that to my first boyfriend's car too, so I feel you.
and it actually worked out well because it was the other person's fault, and the accident ended up paying for our wedding, plus an engagement ring.
Okay.
Not exactly the ideal way to get there, but but I do remember, and I try not to think about it very much, I do remember just before that crash. I remember what it felt like. That doesn't require any concentration.
Yeah, you never forget something like that.
Yeah, it's the negative stuff that we remember so easily. It's the positive stuff we remember less easily. And that reinforces what Steve was saying, because, I mean, we live so much of our lives focusing on negatives, right? And we're surrounded by it. We have all kinds of encouragement to do it. I mean, in some ways, our societies say, you must focus on this negative stuff because this is real. This is the real stuff. You got to focus on the real stuff. Otherwise, you're not being realistic.
Nah.
I agree with you, yeah.
A dreamer's dream. Do what you got to do.
Now, let's see. Nasha said, my friend, she has a friend in Paris, remember? Who'll put her up if she can get there. Her friend is saying to come, but my family is not being flexible. And I really want to get to Paris. Seriously, she says, I really want to go to Paris. I believe you, Nasha. I think we both believe you. you definitely want to go there. Yeah. It's all about the focus. Interesting point you made, though, Nasha. You said your family is not being flexible. That's an example of what we're talking about. Focusing on the negative, right?
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't serve her to focus on, well, the family isn't being flexible. It doesn't help her to manifest it. But that's reality, and you're supposed to focus on reality. The things we do to ourselves is just amazing.
Facts.
So, what's the solution? As crazy as it sounds, you gotta change your focus away from the families being inflexible. And all the other stuff, because
concentrate on the fact that your family's getting there. They're further there than they were before.
That's a very good way to say it. Yeah, they're improving. They're relaxing. Their inflexibility is becoming more flexible. They're relaxing on that. That's good. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And has she created her vision board?
I don't know. Have you created a vision board, Nasha, on getting to Paris?
Because that's where I would start if I want to do a big move like that, you know?
It's a good point, right? Because you have to have something that you can focus on daily to get excited about and focus on and really just create all the details about it. Louise was talking about that yesterday when she and I were talking about a similar topic, how important it is to focus on the details. Those details just make it come to life, right? They make it feel real. Yeah. Those details are big. So, yeah, maybe work on a vision board if you haven't done that.
And then with your vision board, do your affirmations in front of your vision board instead of a mirror, and focus on the pictures and the words and the things, and be specific in your affirmations about your vision board.
She gave another comment. She says, well, I'm trying to.
See? Yeah. See? You want us to do all the work. That's what it is.
No, that's not what it is.
I see you.
No. Oh, actually, she says, I see Paris daily on video with her friend. Okay. So, good. That's good. How much are you getting into the energy of it?
Right.
I mean, because you can just kind of watch a video, or you can watch a video. You can get into it, you know?
Get it and immerse yourself.
That's right. Yeah. It's got to be
tune
real.
out your friend and start listening to the sounds of the birds in the background and the people walking by and the cups clinking at the cafe and stuff like that.
Yeah. Got to be real. Because if it doesn't feel real to you, you won't believe it, not deep down.
Right.
No, you got to believe it. You got to believe it with all your heart.
You got to make your own reality. Then you can concentrate on being realistic.
That's right. Yeah. She says, I get excited. Good. Getting excited is good. Yeah.
Yep.
So just keep doing it. It's kind of like what we were just talking about. There is a momentum factor. The momentum comes from repeated exposure. You know, so like when I was talking about how I really need to focus on some of the really good events that have happened in my life for the purpose of building up how it felt, so it feels like it felt way back then, whenever it was that it happened. Similarly, when you want to go forward into going to Paris or whatever, you want to get to the point where the excitement level is really one on the scale, top of the scale. Number one, highest possible vibration place. The only way to get there is just by continuing to focus and focus and focus and focus and focus and just engaging yourself and getting excited and just doing it more and more and more and more and more and more and more. Yeah. And did I mention more?
Just a little bit more.
Just a little bit more. Yeah. And then you just do it a little bit more after that, you know, and you keep doing it. You keep going and going and going. So.
And also remember, the universe goes on forever, so there's no time frame on your manifestation, so don't be impatient.
That's good. Yeah. Because impatience is a block. Impatience is resistance. Which, by the way, is why there's a time frame. It's true. That's why otherwise the universe loves to deliver everything instantly to us. The only reason it doesn't is because on some level we don't believe, or we resist, or we doubt, or we're afraid, or whatever. You know, we just it's not that there's anything wrong with us. It's just that's part of being a human being, living on planet Earth and dealing with quote reality unquote. That we resist.
And all.
Yeah. So, and that's something I have to remind myself of. It's important to just kind of let go of how long it's going to take. I mean, which is kind of tough. Right now, I'm trying to manifest something that really needs to have a deadline on it, and it's critical. It's pretty critical stuff. It's like, you know, bread and butter stuff.
Right.
And that's where it gets really tough, because you got to let go of an outcome when you desperately want an outcome. But you got to let go.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing my mirror work. This morning I was doing my mirror work, and I was having trouble getting going with the mirror work. I was feeling so down about this thing. And I just kind of stuck with it. I mean, I wasn't feeling it, but I just kind of stuck with, like, you know, look at my face. My face, I was frowning. I had a big frown on my face.
Oh, I don't like frowns.
No, me neither. But nothing like doing mirror work to see exactly where you're at, right?
Yeah.
Because it shows you can't hide from what the mirror is showing you. You can try, but you can't really hide what it's showing you. It's telling you how you're feeling, you know. And so I said, okay, yeah, all right, I get it. So I got to feel better. I'm not sure how I do it right now. I can't find that thought, but by God, somehow I'm going to feel better. And I just stuck with it. I think I did about 10 minutes of mirror work. Normally I'm doing like a minute, you know, so I mean, it was there for a long time by comparison to what I normally do. Not that 10 minutes is all that long. 10 minutes is actually pretty short in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
You know, but compared to what I normally do, it was a lot. And just by sticking it out, I was able, sometimes I kind of forced to smile. Sometimes I was, I was just trying to reach for anything I could find that said, I know how this stuff works. And there was a little voice inside me saying, this stuff doesn't work at all. It doesn't, this stuff is a bunch of nonsense. It was really fighting today. I was fighting myself more precisely. I was saying to myself, I don't know why I keep doing this. This is a bunch of nonsense. And I kept refraining like, oh, well, that's just you talking because you're upset that the thing hasn't shown up yet. That's just you doubting. And so
you're blocking yourself.
I had this little debate going on there. Mm-hmm. I finally won.
Good.
I won the debate. It's like, okay, I really know this stuff works. Okay, I give in. Yeah. I just got to change my mind. I got to change my viewpoint. I got to change my feeling about it. It's all under my control. And the more I did that, the better I got. Until finally, after 10 minutes, it's like I wasn't at cloud 9, but I wasn't in depression either. I had climbed the scale. Oh, Nasha says, so my vision board is ready, but it's not up yet.
Wait, why?
Why?
You should just put it up as soon as you were done. I don't understand what the holdup is. She's holding herself up.
Do I sense resistance there, maybe?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. And again, not something to beat yourself up about. Just recognize that's what you did. And okay. We always get it right. That was part of what I do with my mirror work today. We always get it right. I reminded myself, even when I'm doing something that seems like I produced the wrong result, I still got it right. As a way of saying, don't beat yourself up. Just be nice to yourself. You're doing the best you can under what you're dealing with. So you always get it right. So you didn't put it up?
Maybe by putting up the vision board, her family will see it and go, okay, maybe she really wants to go. Like, just as a side positive thing that might happen.
Yeah.
Don't depend on that. Just say, it's a possibility.
It's possible. Yeah. Or even if it's not that, something's going to change by having it up.
Yes, definitely.
We may not know what it's going to be, but something is going to shift. It's going to affect the ether of your family life in some way. It's got to, because it's new. It's a change in behavior, and it's a change in the environment.
Yep.
Oh, now I should put up her vision board.
Yeah.
Something comes out of that. So. So anyway, hope that helps you a little bit there, Nasha. So let's get to the grass is greener. I've got the Nance's sheet up, and some of the stuff I've heard of. Some of it I have no idea what it is. For instance, NSYNC and Backstreet Boys, I've heard of. I don't really know their music.
I was going to say, if you haven't heard of them, oh my God, get from under the rock you've been living under.
I have actually heard of both of those, yes.
Okay.
I can't say, I couldn't name a single song that either of them do, but I have heard of them, yes. So.
Okay, alright.
Grey's Anatomy I've heard of too. Again, I've never watched it. I've heard a lot of people really like that. But I don't know a lot
it's been on for 15 years and it's going to keep going.
I'm sure. Yeah,
They just broke the record for, what was it? Longest running medical drama.
Oh, really? No kidding.
Yeah.
Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
So I have some idea. I have no idea. Well, I have some idea from the title, but I've never heard of How to Get Away with Murder. Not a clue what that is.
So the person who, the executive producer and writer of Grey's Anatomy has like a slew of shows. Her name is Shonda Rhimes.
Okay. And
every one of her shows on ABC are like amazing. And How to Get Away with Murder is another one of her shows.
Okay.
So it's like a whole Thursday night thing. Like you get to watch all her shows in a row.
And then This Is Us, is that another one of her shows?
No, that's not another one of her shows, but it is a very popular show that makes you cry every episode.
Okay. So let's summarize all this. I mean, there is a pattern here, I think. For instance, under favorite movies, you said that Nance's thing is romantic comedies. You didn't specify any movies. You just kind of put it in a category there. So is there a theme going on?
Yeah, I was thinking of doing the old fail-safe and be like, oh, she likes The Notebook and, you know, any Nicholas Sparks movie, but I'm like, I want her to have a little more substance than that, you know.
So, but I mean, comparing all of these things, the musicians, NSYNC, Backstreet Boys, the TV shows, Grey's Anatomy, How to Get Away with Murder, This Is Us, is there a theme going on here that you can clue me in on that I wouldn't know about?
I think it just has to do with the era of when she grew up in.
Okay.
Because those are all things that are popular in my era. Mm-hmm. So.
Okay. So there's nothing. There's no specific takeaway from any of those. That's just stuff that she likes as kind of filling out the character, and that's really it.
I think with the TV shows, there's kind of a theme because those TV shows do have a lot of romance aspects to them.
Ah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So romance.
Kind of like, hoping and wishing one day, me too,
Yeah, okay. So romance and romantic comedies in the movies. Romance is a big theme going on there. So she's really concerned about, this is a way of tying in the fact that she's really concerned she's not finding the right guy. Yeah.
Well, also, you can also include the musicians in there because NSYNC and Backstreet Boys always sing about love, so.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, so, okay, there is a theme going on there then. It's a pretty strong one.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Okay, that's good. So let's look at her ex, Miguel, who, interestingly enough, has not as much on his list. I don't know how else to say that. He just doesn't have as much stuff.
He's a simple guy.
He's a simple guy, yeah, I guess so. Now, I've never heard of Daddy Yankee or Pitbull, so you're going to have to clue me in what they're about.
They are, what's the name of that genre? I can't, reggaeton. They're reggaeton artists. So it's like half reggae, half Spanish.
Okay. Okay.
So, yeah, again, product of growing up in that era.
Culture, yeah. Being a Hispanic, all right. So that makes favorite movies a little confusing to me. Why Marvel movies?
'Cause they're awesome. And
okay.
and he's a dude. But it also ties in because those are, I forget if they're either MJ's favorite movies or Lana's favorite movies, but it ties in that way.
Ah, okay. So this is a tie into the kids thing. Got it. All right.
Yeah.
And he's a Facebook user. That's an interesting thing right there. That's almost
everyone
like a
in their 30s uses their Facebook.
But I say it's interesting because this is a guy who's got a lot of fears. He's afraid of going off on his own as a self-employed person. He's afraid of staying with Miguel with Nance because Nance is such a flirt and she doesn't seem to want that deep relationship. So he's afraid of her in that sense. He's afraid of dealing with his daughter because what he's been trained to be by his culture and by his family growing up, that it's a male-dominated culture and that the women have their place. So it doesn't make sense for him to connect with his daughter in any significant way, and he's afraid of even going there. He's afraid of a lot of things.
But he does stay connected on Facebook because he's a loyal friend.
And that's the interesting thing. I think there's a pattern. And now, of course, billions of people are on Facebook, so you have to kind of take this pattern that I'm going to identify with a grain of salt. But we talked, I remember back when you and Carlos first joined, and we did that episode on dating apps. In fact, I think we did 2 episodes on dating in general. One was on apps, and one was on the wider picture of dating. And during that conversation, I remember talking with you specifically. I think Carlos also weighed in on it. But I remember your commentary about how when people are meeting through a dating app, it's a kind of a challenging situation because you're texting and you don't really have the body language to read and you don't really have the personal interaction. And so my question that I raised to you was, well, how do you actually get to know somebody if you don't really have the chance to talk to them face to face? And you said exactly that's the point. That's the problem. Well, what occurs to me is that's kind of like what the Facebook tide has brought. It's brought us a way to replace personal interaction with impersonal texting. which is perfect for enabling somebody who's an introvert.
Yep, definitely.
So that's why it just made sense to me that, yeah, of course he's on Facebook. That's the farthest he's willing to go to put himself out there.
Right.
So that really informs his character, I think.
I like it.
Okay, so that's good stuff. Let's take a look at, first let's look at MJ, who is Miguel and Nance's son, and see what he's all about. You had some stuff to add there, but he's a relatively minor character so far. We haven't given him a whole lot, which is kind of interesting.
Nah, we haven't, yeah.
I'm not sure what to do with that yet, but that's okay. This might develop. Now, for music, you said he's into hip-hop and mumble rappers. You're going to have to tell me what that is. I don't know what that is.
That's what us millennials call all these new rappers that think they know what rap is about, but they really don't, because real rap comes from the 90s and the 2000s.
Oh, okay.
So literally, it's all mumbling. Like, it's probably what you think my music sounds like.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the baby boomer analogy. I appreciate that. Actually, that's not what I think about rap. I had a guest on one time, a couple of years ago, who was a rap artist, but the stuff he wrote was extremely positive. And
I like that.
I stumbled across him. I don't remember what I was doing, but I stumbled on him somehow. And I was really intrigued, because I really don't like rap. I've never liked rap, and I'll tell you why in a moment. But I was intrigued that he was doing this. So I contacted him. I said, would you like to do a show? And he said, sure. And so we had a really nice conversation. He said, I'm going to try to turn you into a fan of rap. I said, okay, I'll give you the chance, but I don't promise anything. And it led to a really, really fun conversation.
Did he freestyle on the show?
He did, yeah, and it was good.
Nice,
I mean, he did a nice job with it. And it's not that I actually object to rap. I think rap is fine. What rubs me the wrong way is I don't think it's music. It doesn't feel like music to me, and the reason is music for me has melody. If it doesn't have melody, it isn't really music. It's drumming, and that's just the way I feel about stuff. I like melody. I like counterpoint. I like how all the different note patterns interact with each other. I love that part. I like chords. I like all that kind of thing. And I like the variety of it. So, and rap doesn't do that. Now, if I look at rap just on its own and not think of it as music, yeah, it's like good poetry. That's fine. I'm okay with that. I just have trouble thinking of it as music. That's all. So anyway, we had a good conversation about that. So when I see that MJ is into, well, hip-hop isn't really rap. Hip-hop is... I've never really known how to define what hip-hop is, but I know it's not the same thing. So, I mean, how would you define it?
Because it includes R&B and all that stuff.
To a degree, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a simplified version of R&B, yeah.
Yeah.
Which kind of continues a trend. That's a trend that I recognize as a musician. R&B went through a development phase. It was early on. It was it was a very structured blues. It was literally blues.
Yep. Yeah.
And then it turned into an evolving thing that kind of expanded into a variety of directions. And then it all started to go down into a more simplified form. And ultimately, a lot of the music that's popular today is the simplest form of that. It's like one chord for most of it. It's just one chord and a rhythm going on in the background. Excuse me, a rhythm going in the background and some sort of a very, very, very simplified melody going on. So even the old blues form is kind of gone. That doesn't really exist anymore in the modern form of it, which is okay,
R&B nowadays is more about the story that they're telling than anything else.
Yeah, I get that sense. I've never really studied the lyrics much, but you can just tell. I mean, when I hear it, when I hear it playing, I can just tell it's the whole focus of it has shifted, and so it's interesting to hear you say that it's more about the story.
Yeah.
So, as we're looking at MJ's bio here, first of all, what does it tell you that he's into the mumble rappers? Is that just because of his age?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just what's current right now.
And then why the hip-hop? Because hip-hop's older. Hip-hop's older than he is.
He gets that, I would say, because it's reoccurring. So it's like all the, I'm not going to say old because the 2000s were not that long ago, but all the 2000 music is coming back and it becoming repopularized. So,
okay.
Yeah, so now he's like, as long as it has a good beat, he's with it.
Okay. And then you got him as Marvel movies. So that's the connection between him and his dad. They're both into the Marvel. Dad because the son is into it, I imagine.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then, interestingly, under favorite apps games, you've got two out of three that I have heard before. I know nothing about. The third one I haven't heard anything. I don't even recognize. Fortnite and Snapchat I've at least heard of. Red Dead 2, I haven't the faintest clue what that is. But you got to clue me in on all of it. So tell me about all of it.
Okay, I don't really know a lot about the games, but
okay.
I do know that they're very intense and they're online games and that everybody's playing them. Anybody who has a system and mostly guys, but sometimes girls, are playing these games and and I don't know if Fortnite's violent, but I know Red Dead 2 is very violent.
It sounds like it just from the name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And Snapchat is an app I've heard of, but again, it's not one I know a whole lot about. So for those of us who are clueless baby boomers, tell us about Snapchat.
Snapchat is an app where you can take a picture, send it to your friends, or send it to a group of friends, or send it out to everyone. And I don't like the purpose of it because it disappears in 24 hours. So I don't see the point of it. But it's popular. So it's like Instagram, but like I said, the pictures only last for 24 hours. Yeah. And they have filters, so that's like the major thing. Like you can make yourself look like a dog or look like a bunny or, you know, make your eyes really big or put makeup on or what have you. You can do all these kinds of things. So Snapchat is like, and it's a way of connecting with friends. Like people, that's where you get sliding in the DMs comes from. It comes from Snapchat because people, you know, connect in that way and they talk back and forth to each other.
I wonder if the fact that it disappears in 24 hours is perhaps a major part of the draw, because there's a lot of fear these days about all the stuff that Facebook and Twitter and all them have. And how they
because the internet is forever.
Yeah. So, there's also a suspicious side of me that says, does it really disappear?
Right? I say the same thing.
Do you? Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't trust anybody who's a data collector to make stuff disappear. It's too valuable to them.
There's a Snapchat cloud out there somewhere.
There definitely is, yeah. It may not be a publicly accessible cloud, but it's there, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so that means we got to look at Lana. Lana is going to turn into an interesting character, I think. Mm-hmm. Because first of all, the way I'm visualizing it, she's going to play a major role right from the first episode. Because she's going to be the one who I think should unmask Ronald, the player cheater.
Right.
Even if she does it incidentally, hey, it's still part of the game. You know, it still works.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now,
you've described her as a tomboy. What was your thinking about that?
I think she tries to be a tomboy because she's trying to get her father's approval. And that's the type of, that, you know, he's very macho, so that's like what he looks for. So, you know, he pays more attention to her brother, so.
That makes sense.
That's what she tries to be.
Yeah, because if he rates males as more important than females, then she wants to be a male.
Right.
In fact, I'm almost amazed that she isn't transgender, but, you know.
I was thinking that, but I was like, no, let's not saturate the story.
Okay. Well, hey, we can always introduce it as a theme later on.
That's true. That's true.
Because after, 10 episodes, she comes out of the closet or whatever.
Yeah. Like, I'm not just a tomboy. Guess what?
Surprise, surprise, Daddy. Favorite musicians, Jojo Siwa. No clue what that is.
I know you have no clue. When I wrote it, I was like, he's going to have questions about this.
You know me well.
She's a very popular teenage singer.
Oh, okay.
She's very popular in Nickelodeon, and she's mostly known for, she has speaking of merch, she has a series of bows because she keeps her hair in a side ponytail.
Oh.
And she always has a bow on, and that was like her thing. So now she has her own merchandise of bows. So like every little girl has a bow.
So are we going to be seeing more and more little girls in public with a bow on the side and a side ponytail?
You should be seeing it now.
Already? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I can't say I've noticed it, but now, of course, that it has come to my conscious mind. I'll be seeing it everywhere, I'm sure, because that's the way it works.
Of course. Yep.
Yeah.
Like when you buy a new car. Now you see it everywhere.
There it is. And then favorite movies. I recognize one of them. I've actually seen Frozen, believe it or not. But I don't know what one is. Yeah, I really have. Yeah. It was okay. It was a good movie. I liked it.
Are you ready for Frozen 2?
I didn't know it was coming out, but sure, I'll check it out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. They went in depth with the characters. Now, Elsa's allowed to be her true self, so she's a lesbian now.
Oh, so really? Okay.
Yeah. So I think this is Disney's first lesbian, now that I think about it.
This is going to be, the conservatives are going to go crazy over this.
They already were. That's why it was a whole thing on Facebook. This is why I know it's coming out. So,
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Because they're like, some people like, just let characters be characters. It's Disney. Stop, making things more than they are.
It's kind of like the Dumbledore pushback when
yes.
JK announced that he was gay. Like, okay, he didn't have to be gay. Why did you have to do that?
Right. That was an uproar.
All I do was I love Dumbledore. I think he's a wonderful character. And when
he's the best.
When the announcement came out, my reaction was, so what? And then I thought about it. I realized, wait a minute, this is going to make a lot of people upset, isn't it? But that was my first reaction was, who cares? What difference does it make? And then, I guess it's going to make a lot of difference, I guess. Yeah.
Especially, I noticed it more watching him in, which I think they did on purpose. Like after the fact that they announced that he was gay, it made him look more gay during
filming?
What's that movie? When he plays his younger self in Fantastic Beasts 2.
Oh, Fantastic Beasts. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they made him look gay.
I was like, okay. Yeah.
I'm still trying to figure out what that is. I mean, Louise pointed out to me.
He's very well dressed. He's not in his robes. He's very well dressed. He's got a pocket watch. He's very snazzy.
I love a pocket watch. That's great. That fits Dumbledore. I don't care what his sexual orientation is.
It does fit him.
It's perfect. It should be a watch that works something like Molly Weasley's clock.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. It probably does.
Yeah, I would be surprised.
With like a time turner on the side.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
and a deluminator attachment,
Yeah.
But what's Mona? I don't know Mona at all.
Moana.
Oh, Moana, I'm sorry.
Yeah. That is, I'm surprised you never heard of Moana. That was huge.
I don't know that.
It's a movie about, I don't want to say she's Hawaiian. I'll say she's Polynesian girl.
Okay.
And their crops start dying or something, but she has to go on this adventure into the sea to find, the heart of the sea, to give the heart back to the sea. And she ends up meeting the Rock's character, what's his name? Well, I don't remember his name, but I should because he's a major character. He makes the whole movie.
Okay.
So, but, yeah. Maui, that's his name.
Okay.
So she ends up meeting up with Maui, and he's like a demigod, and he's got this giant hook, and so he ends up helping her on her adventure. And it's just, these are themes. The theme of these is that these are strong female role models in the Disney platform. So that's why I put those as her favorite movies.
Okay, that makes sense. And where does Henry Danger fit into that? Another one I don't know.
Henry Danger is a TV show on Nickelodeon. It's very popular with the preteens these days. I watch it too. It's a pretty good show. I'm not gonna lie.
What's the big takeaway from it that she would tie in?
There's this hometown superhero who is indestructible, and he goes searching for a sidekick. And this kid who's 14, 15 was like, "Oh, I need a job." So he went to go sign up for a job, and the guy was like, "Oh, this kid's perfect." And then he brings him down to the man cave, and he realized, "Oh, you're Captain Man." And he's like, and you're going to be my sidekick. So it's all their adventures and how they save the town every week. And it's pretty good.
So it's being a superhero from the sidekick's point of view.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
He ends up getting powers though.
Oh, he does.
In the second or third season, I think.
Okay. So this is her version of Marvel Comics.
Yeah. Could be. Yeah.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. Well, she's trying to be what her father wants her to be. So it makes sense. Mm-hmm. It's not healthy, but it makes sense.
No, nobody said she was healthy. That's why
true.
she has to see a therapist.
That's why we have a show. We have a whole bunch of unhealthy people.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I have to make note, Nasha included a concept in her idea of Paris. She says, the grass is greener in Paris. That's what I'm putting up on my vision board. How about that?
Ooh, the grass is greener in Paris. Yes, it is.
I like that. Okay, and she's into Harry Potter. Was there a particular reason for picking Harry Potter?
I think I wrote, but I might have wrote it in the notes, that those are the books that her parents used to read to her when she was a kid.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Her father read to her?
Well, he was in the room, but mostly Nance did the reading.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that would be like a breakthrough right there. That would be like a moment for, this becomes a basis for future breakthroughs. Just the fact that would be there. So, okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And then the rest of our notes, which we really, on the character notes, we really fill these characters out quite a bit, which is good. Yeah. All right. So, let's look at.
Did you see my note about the about how Lana's therapist is the reason that Nance goes to see a therapist?
No, I didn't. I missed that one.
Yeah. So my theory is that she, because Lana ends up punching a kid at school.
Oh.
And this is how this school decides she can't come back until she sees a therapist.
No kidding.
Because clearly there's something going on, with her that needs to be discussed. So she goes to see the therapist, and obviously at least one meeting, the parent has to be there.
Ah.
So with talking with the parent, the therapist realized, okay, we see where these, problematic issues are coming from. We're going to need you to check in with this person. And then, she hands her a card and she's like, you should definitely call him or her.
Okay. So we haven't done Ronald yet, but let's save Ronald for a moment, because I think we're on a good theme here that ties us into what I'm calling blocking out the first episode. In other words, creating little blocks of time and what's going to happen in each one of these blocks of time. So, I mean, the way I had the way I had most recently visualized it was the first part is we see Ronald and Nance flirting in their casual, everyday, the way they flirt all the time way, which is exactly what Nance always wants. For Nance, that's what a relationship is. A relationship is always about the flirting. So we see them flirting. Shortly thereafter, I mean like minutes later, because in episodes like these, things happen pretty quickly. Minutes
they could
later,
be flirting in the casting room.
Sure. Yeah, that would work.
Because she brings the talent, so and he's a producer, so he'd obviously be there.
That's right. Yeah, that would make sense. So it could either be in the green room or the casting room or both. It could be either place. It would work either way.
And they're working on a rom-com, which is her favorite, so she sees it as a sign.
Yes. Which he, as the player, knows that's a great manipulative point, so he only brings up rom-coms with her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That's good. Okay. But shortly thereafter, Lana gets a hold of his smartphone to play with it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how that happens, but that's when she stumbles upon the fact that he has a wife.
Well, kids nowadays, if you go on any YouTube video, you will see kids going up to strangers going, "Do you have games on your phone?" Mm-hmm. So that's easily done.
But that means that Lana has to be in the same place they are, is what I'm saying.
That because he comes to visit them at their house.
Okay, so I'm trying
So
to
they
block
have
out
to be
what's
dating for a while.
Here? So because I want to get what I'm trying to say is I want that thing with Lana discovering that to happen really early in the episode, and we were talking about a 30-minute episode. So there's 5 minutes of some kind of flirting going on at the studio or in the the casting room or whatever between Nance and Ronald, and then somehow we're transitioning. Maybe we're just cutting. I don't know. But somehow we're cutting to Lana looking at Ronald's phone. I'm trying to think, how do you make sense? How do you make that make sense? How does that transition happen? I'm not quite sure what the answer is on that one.
I say she invites Ronald over for dinner, and Lana's there.
Good, nice and simple. I like that. Yeah, very good. So now Lana gets a hold of the phone. She discovers the wife. Asks questions about it. Revelations are made. Ronald denies. Big fight.
She could accidentally FaceTime the wife.
Ooh, that would be cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. So she, she sees a picture. She presses the button, and then the wife starts. Then all you hear in the background is, "Who are you?"
Well, actually, the first thing you hear is, "When are you coming home?" Oh, wait a minute. Who are you?
Yeah. Yes. Hashtag FaceTime.
Yes, Alyx is now my queen of hashtags, so that I know what hashtags to put into my videos. So thank you for that. Appreciate it. So, okay. So now the episode's starting to make sense the way I was hoping it was going to make sense. And ultimately, now, Bill came up with his own idea of a first episode. It had some interesting ideas in it, although I wasn't quite sure how to make them work on, I think of it as radio or, podcast, where everything is just sound-oriented. So it's kind of hard to show that her dress was ripped or whatever. There's not a nice way to show that in sound when you hear the sound of the dress ripping.
Unless we had a narrator, but I feel like the narrator would take over the whole story.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I even said the word narrator in that comment I made, I thought Sex in the City. And it's like, do we really want this to be Sex in the City?
I was thinking Jane the Virgin, but you don't know what that is, so it's okay.
Okay. Well, the point is, do you really want to go that way? Because there are certain associations that audiences have with those kinds of shows. Do we want to have that kind of association? Maybe we do. I don't know. But
it was very successful, so who knows?
It has been, yeah. Narration is one of those things, it's a two-edged sword. On the one hand, it can be effective as a way of bringing in details that you can't otherwise hear. On the other hand, once you've got it, you can't get rid of it.
Yeah. That's true.
You're married to it. It's there. It doesn't go away. You can't divorce it. So you're always having to write that way. Now, the plus side of that, of course, is that it makes it a lot easier to write novelistically as opposed to screenwriting. Because then you can write like you're writing a novel or a magazine article in the case of whatever her name is in Sex and the City. I mean, she was a magazine author.
Yeah.
She wrote all these magazine articles. So, I don't know. I mean, I kind of lean not toward narrator, but what do you think?
I also lean that way.
Okay, so let's avoid the narrator thing then. We're not having a narrator, which means we have to be really true to the podcast format, which is you can't have anything that you can't either play a sound to demonstrate or include in dialogue. Otherwise, they won't know it's there.
Right, that's true.
Because with sound, you're trying to paint a mental picture. You're trying to paint a picture of this is what's going on.
Well, you paint it with the characters. So, like, if Nance is wearing a green dress, instead of you saying, and Nance looked amazing in her green dress, you have Ronald say, oh, you look amazing in that green dress.
Exactly. Yeah, you do stuff like that. So that's painting the picture. That's good.
Yep.
Okay. So, where I was trying to get to with the first episode, for me, the cliffhanger on the first episode is ultimately, is she going to get help? Now that she's found out that Ronald is cheating on her. Or he actually
No, I think the cliffhanger should be Lana opening the phone.
Then where's the crisis? Because there needs to be a crisis on cliffhanger.
The crisis is you see Ronald, well, you don't see. Ronald is now rushing towards his phone, and there's a kerfuffle and argument, and who is she, and what's going on, and And that's when it cuts off, and then you tune in next week.
So then we're really not having the fight during the first episode.
We're having like half the fight.
How do we do that? What
or
are they
a quarter
fighting
of the
about?
fight.
So what are they fighting about?
Well, the wife is on FaceTime, and she always goes, what time are you coming home? You're running late, or whatever she says. And then she goes, oh, hi, who are you? And Lana goes, who are you? And Ronald hears his wife's voice, so he runs to his phone. And Nance is like, what's going on? And he's like, some argument has to happen between the wife and Ronald in front of Nance in order for her to figure out that that's his wife.
Okay. So that starts to be a crisis. The thing about a crisis is that in order to make a crisis really effective, the viewer, or in this case the listener, has to feel it. Has to really, really feel it. It isn't enough to have just heard about it. You have to feel it deep down. So that means you got to build it a bit. You got to play with it. Mm-hmm. It's got to kind of exist in the zeitgeist of the show for some period of more than 10 seconds. Like, it's not just, oh my God, he's talking to another woman who's his wife. It's got to be more like, all the angst that's involved and all that. It's got to be time to play that out.
I like the simplicity because that's how they did it on Grey's Anatomy. Like the couple was dating, it was the very first episode, the couple was dating the end of the first season. The couple was dating the whole season, and then the wife shows up at the very last scene of the last season, and she goes, oh, you must be the woman who's sleeping with my husband. Blank screen.
Okay.
So now we gotta tune into season 2 to find out what the heck is going on.
But in order to make that approach work, then there has to be some sort of setup that leads you to understand that. What was her name? The one who said that? Who said that line?
I don't remember her, but I know I didn't like her.
Whatever her name is, okay. We'll call her Plain Jane. If Plain Jane's thing had a preamble to it, not a preamble, but a setup to it, so that there was something going on that led you to believe that Plain Jane was going to feel a certain way about conflicts, or a certain way about relationships gone bad. And then when it finally happens, it all makes sense that she's saying what she just said. So there has to be that setup in some way. So if we're going to do that with our show, we have to have a setup that makes it clear that that Nance is not shocked like we are about what happened. Like, this is happening to me.
Yep.
Once again, here it is again. This is my ongoing theme of constantly being, wooed by married men or whatever, something along that line.
Yeah. Picking the wrong guys. If I had no bad luck, I'd have no luck at all.
Exactly.
And blah, blah, blah.
It's got to be something like that. So we have to have a scene, because you don't want to actually just say that. That's not the point. You have to show the story of that. So somehow we have to have a scene somewhere between Ronald comes to dinner and the reveal that there is a married wife who's married to Ronald.
Well, we can have a flashback scene
to a previous Nance relationship.
Yep.
So if we're going to do that we're inventing another character, which is fine, and then we have to. How do we make it clear that it's a flashback?
In order to avoid creating another character, we can have a flashback to a point in their relationship where a discussion was had that he's definitely single, or, so she felt like secure in this relationship.
Okay, but here's the question I'm asking myself: on a TV or movie drama, you can tell it's a flashback because the scene changes.
Right. Yeah,
how do you tell that the scene changed in audio?
That's true.
If you put it in different background noises, it just seems like they're in a different place. How do you make it a different time?
So what you do is you have Nance say, and I started thinking back to the time when blah, 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 blah.
Okay. So Nance cues us that we're going back in time. Then we go back in time. We relive that scene, wherever the scene is.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then when we come back, that's when Lana has her FaceTime conversation with the wife.
Right.
So what we really need then is we need a way to bridge Ronald getting invited and showing up for dinner to mm-hmm. that long ago scene. We need to create a connection there.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. So presumably it's something having to do with being a player, because he's a player. Mm-hmm. And the previous mm-hmm. guy was also a player, and they're both married men. Mm-hmm. So they're both exhibiting a behavior that Nance is noticing and is getting pissy about. Mm-hmm. So let's see, what is that? It's a behavior that both men are exhibiting, and she's made the connection that they're similar. What would that be? Well, let's see, players will tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah, they tell you what they want to hear. They're very smooth. They peacock. So.
Yeah. That's true.
I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, yeah. So they also have a tendency to build you up and tear you down at the same time to make you feel like they're the only ones that will appreciate you.
Good point. Yeah. That's a very good point. Mm-hmm. We just need to piece together a little storyline. Because somehow this comes up as a sort of a mini crisis for Nance before the big crisis hits.
Right.
It's like this has pushed a button for her, whatever this thing is. Mm-hmm. It's something that's pushed a button and has created this recollection. So we got to come up with that. That's what we're missing at this point. We need something that pushes that button.
Yeah. What
is that going to be? Well, you're going to have to tune in next episode to find out because we're out of time. How's that for a cliffhanger?
Hashtag cliffhanger.
But before we go, I do want to make sure I remind people, become a subscriber, because what you're seeing here is the behind-the-scenes development of this fiction podcast that Alyx and I are leading the charge on producing and writing and creating and so forth. And by the way, Tom raised a question. Actually, a question was raised to him by one of our listeners. Why are we doing this? What is this? How does this connect to LOA Today? I probably should have said this at the top of the hour, but I'll say it now. The law of attraction, you and I talked about this yesterday off screen. Yep. The law of attraction applies in all areas of our lives. And what we do on the show a lot is, helping people solve their LOA issues. I'm trying to attract this. I'm trying to do that. I'm having this problem, that problem, which is great. That's a perfectly legitimate format. But I've also been thinking about how do we expand it, because I really want to grow the audience quickly. And we'll continue to grow it at a relatively sedate pace with what we're already doing. But if we can expand it so that we're offering more than just that one thing, I think we start growing the audience better, especially if we can present something that is of high entertainment value.
Yeah.
And that's what made me think about doing fiction, because if you do fiction, first of all, you can tie in all of the dysfunctionality you want to. It creates all kinds of opportunity for entertainment. And second of all, it creates opportunity to introduce into a story environment solutions that are deliberate creator oriented. Mm-hmm. And that's where we're going with having a therapist or a coach come in. So that was my thinking about it. And I think that's pretty much what you had in mind, right?
Yep, that's exactly what I had in mind. Yeah.
So, I think it's a perfect tie-in. Now, if it's not your thing, okay, just listen to the episodes about, just regular LOA. But for those of you who are willing to join us on the ride, welcome to the, what do they call them? The special features. Welcome to the special features. With that thought in mind, I thank you very much, Alyx. We'll have to carry this on Friday morning with Tom, because Tom's a good guy at spinning out details. He just spurts them out. He's got a lot of improv experience. And the best part is if it's something that doesn't fit, he's okay. Well, we'll just forget that. Let's just go on to the next thing. No big deal.
Exactly.
It's fabulous. So thank you. I appreciate all the work that you're helping me do on this. And
no problem. It's a fun project for me.
It is, isn't it? It is fun. Mm-hmm. And so we welcome everybody to come back next time. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.